Hello. There will be probably a hum in the background. That's the fan. It's really too hot for me to manage to make this video without the fan. I've moved my microphone further over and I'm hoping that that will reduce some of the interference. Okay, well, let's get on with the story, you see, because this empty suit here, who calls himself the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Sir Keir Starmer, and the President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron, made what Starmer describes as a groundbreaking deal. A deal. He's always using the word deal. This particular one has attracted a good deal of criticism, both from the sort of people and organisations sympathetic to an open borders policy, as well as the sort of people considerably concerned about the numbers and quality of the migrants coming over. So, for instance, in the first category, the Migrants' Rights Network, the Joint Council for the Welfare of Immigrants and the International Rescue Committee, yep, they're all there, all agree it'll push migrants towards more dangerous routes, while at the same time they also all agree that the scheme is being applied on too small a scale to make a difference. Push them to dangerous routes, scheme isn't big enough. Well, you can't expect consistency from the sort of people who believe in open borders, I suppose. The Migrants' Rights Network have an even better argument against this deal. The Migrants' Rights Network complains that the deal is bad because it'll make the far right happier. That's their idea of an irrefutable argument. As for the sort of people that the Migrants' Rights Network would call the far right, such as, for instance, Nigel Farage and many others, they all agree that it's on too small a scale to be effective, so it's nice to know that people in Britain can all agree on something. At the same time, though, people like Farage point out that it's a betrayal of Brexit. Well, he's right about that. But our governments have been betraying Brexit ever since the referendum vote in 2016. The UK and French agreement works on what they call a one-in, one-out idea, in which the UK returns small boat migrants to France in exchange for accepting an equivalent number of asylum seekers with what they say are legitimate claims. Do you think, well, first of all, it means that we're going to get the same number of migrants? And secondly, do you honestly believe that, for instance, these people are going to be properly screened for family ties, which is one of the legitimate reasons for them being in the country? Do you actually believe that's going to work? I mean, you know, it's obviously a big lie. It's referred to by members of the Reform Party as a migrant merry-go-round, but it's not very merry so far as I'm concerned. And so far as I've read, it involves returning about 50 migrants a week. 50 migrant exchanges a week. 5,000 arrived by small boat in June alone. I'm Granniopteryx. Please like this video, please share it, and please, please, please subscribe, because that's the only way YouTube recognises that I have a channel. If you want to make a financial contribution, well, you know, that's really nice, but subscribing and liking is really the best. All the links for any sort of monetary donation or even emails in the description. So here we have the one-in, one-out scheme. Starmer has touted this so-called deal as a great way to disrupt smuggling networks. But I think most reasonable people would agree that the proposed return of 50 a week wouldn't even make a dent. And all it really does is replace one group of migrants with another. In fact, it's an insult to anyone in the UK with a brain. But then Starmer's government is an insult to everyone in the UK. All of them, every single one, tell one lie after the other, completely straight-faced. And they expect us all to swallow those lies or be polite and pretend we think they're the truth. And probably the biggest lie is that the scheme will actually ever get off the ground, because several EU countries don't like it at all. They have an idea that returned migrants will end up on their patch, and after all, they don't want that. This is the EU after all. They have free movement, they couldn't stop it. So those guys will probably, those guys in the other countries like Holland and Belgium, they're going to end up scuppering the whole thing anyway. And I'm sure that both Starmer and Macron know that. Let's have their picture back, should we? They're shaking hands and they know it's all a big con. So here we are, blow for Starmer as 5 EU countries oppose one in, one out migrant deal with France. And yeah, back here in this country, it seems to me from what I've seen of reading various articles that most people think that Starmer's been had. Some say it's only the right-wingers who are discontented, but I don't know, I think it's a lot broader than that. You see, the Telegraph, for instance, is using the same photograph, but they already say that the Channel deal is unravelling. Meanwhile, we've paid the French £700 million since 2018 for them to, well, do bugger all. Now, while we're on the subject of unwanted people coming across the Channel in ships, at the same time, we are set to welcome the Bayeux Tapestry here in the UK. It's supposed to be a cultural exchange, but the truth is that the Bayeux Museum in France is being refurbished, so they needed somewhere else to house it. You can't just put it in a drawer, it's 70 metres long. So they've done another deal. It comes to the British Museum in September on temporary loan, in exchange for the British Museum shipping to France the Sutton Hoo treasure. Picture of the Sutton Hoo treasure. The Sutton Hoo treasure is a set of artefacts found in a 7th century Anglo-Saxon ship burial. Here's some pictures. There's the helmet. This is a picture of what the ship coffin would have looked like. A gold belt buckle. Look at that. 7th century jewellery work. This is a purse lid, which would have been attached to a leather pouch. And inside there were Frankish gold coins. Here, look. And there's a shield. Oh, look at the size of that ship. What had been a ship. The Sutton Hoo treasure, as you see, includes a magnificent helmet. There's a sword, a shield, a lyre. I'm not talking about the sort of lyre that Starmer is. I'm talking about the sort that's sort of like a harp. There were gold coins and quite a lot of jewellery. And there was Byzantine silverware. It was discovered in 1939 and it revolutionised our understanding of Anglo-Saxon England. It gave us a much better idea of its wealth and its artistry and its international cultural connections. There were French coins in the purse and silverware made in Byzantium, which is Turkey. Before the discovery of this hoard, the historians thought of the period of the 7 Anglo-Saxon kingdoms in those days as little more than a bunch of savages racing about the countryside, waving badly made swords and wearing bearskins. And this, of course, showed them it was a different sort of thing altogether. Most archaeologists think it's the treasure of a 7th century Anglo-Saxon ruler called King Radvald, but they don't know for sure. And this is the point. When the Normans invaded in 1066, they belittled, trashed, and in as many cases as they could, obliterated everything about Anglo-Saxon history that they could. Now, the Normans, by the way, who invaded under King William, known as William the Bastard, taught to us at school as William the Conqueror, but that was because it was a girls' school. Strictly speaking, they weren't French, they were Norsemen, but they did speak French, and the French now claim them as their own, hence the Bayeux Tapestry being a French national treasure. I'm not complaining too much. The French influence on the English language has given it the most words of any language in the world for expressing subtle shades of meaning, because we're using Germanic and Latin words to differentiate. I'm sure most of you know the famous examples of how English got 2 separate terms of language for animals, depending on whether they were in the field or on the plate. I'll just remind you that in most countries, when you eat deer, cows, pigs or fowl, that's what you eat: deer, cows, pigs and fowl. But in English, the deer, cows, pigs and fowl, all designations of Teutonic origin, when they turn up on the dinner table, they do so as venison, beef, pork and poultry, all French words. And that's because the Saxon peasants referred to the animals they tended in their Germanic language, while the French conquerors referred to the food on their plates in French. And so back to the Bayeux Tapestry. Do you think the loan of this historical document, which the French are handing over to us temporarily, in exchange for a lot of Saxon valuables, do you think that might have something to do with a reminder that 1,000 years ago the French invaded this country and changed it? And the reason we knew nothing about Sutton Hoo until 1939, and even now can only guess at the true origin and meaning of the treasure, is because the Normans managed to wipe out a whole chunk of British history with their invasion. Do you think that might have been in Macron's mind when he twisted Starmer into a ridiculous agreement about migrants, which any sensible person would see as nothing more than a French steamrollering of British interests? Just like the Normans. Have a think about that. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.